Hey, what's up guys, it's James Diamond here and welcome back to the next episode here on Sonic Academy of how to make a Psytrance track. In the last episode we were looking at the intro breakdown in typical Psytrance fashion, starting with a breakdown and then building up to this kick and bass line drop. In this episode we're going to be continuing on and building up the track all the way to the breakdown. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to move all of these sounds to the right. So we keep them in the project and we can use them and copy and paste them as we need. And what I think I'm going to do first of all is keep this kick and bass line quite dry, quite as it is, not much going on, because we want the impact in this drop and obviously the way it sounds in a club, keeping it nice and big with just the kick and bass line. So let's just have a listen with these extra little effects in here. So it sounded quite nice. So as you can hear, like I was saying, I wanted it to be quite dry with just a kick and a bass, and then using these nice atmospheric kind of reverbed hits on top. So let's start to bring in some more sounds, and I think maybe let's bring in the kind of acid type effects that we made. Sounds quite cool. Let's add in these ones as well. Sounds pretty good. I think we probably want to add something in there to fill up the gaps, so let's copy and paste these over. So that's sounding nice, so let's have a look at doing something with a little fill here. Something I quite like to do quite a lot in Psytrance tracks is to add in some extra bassline hits here, some very quick bassline hits. So I'll just show you what that sounds like. So it sounds a bit random there, but let's have a listen to what it sounds like in the mix. So that really kind of helps with that cool transition there. I think we can start to bring in these bassline hits. Sounding pretty nice. Let's copy and paste our sound effects section. And I think this would be a pretty good time to start to bring in the open hi-hat. So that's getting there. We're building the sounds up quite nicely. As it is a progressive Psy track, we want to make it very nice and progressive on the intro. So let's copy and paste our loop over. And maybe we can bring in the clap here. And perhaps just cut out the kick and the bass to see how that sounds. So the track is starting to build up nicely. Maybe we should start introducing some of these acids. Sounded pretty nice indeed. Cool, well, liking the sound of that. Maybe let's have a look at this transition here. I think I want to add an extra transition effect in there, and I was looking through some of the fills and things in the Sonic Academy effects sample packs, and I found a really cool one. So if I... Apologies for that, was a bit loud there. So I'm just going to chuck that in, and let's link it to a channel, and let's just rename that fill. Bring down the volume of it, and let's just add an EQ to take off some low end. As you can see, this last hit here isn't quite on the beat, so I'm just going to cut that, and we're just going to put it onto the beat and pull this back. So let's just have a listen to see how this sounds. We'll cut everything else out as well. We'll pull that back. So it sounds alright. It's kind of... I'm not really sure about that snare at the end. I think there's something a lot more we could do with it. So what I like to do in some of my transitions in Psytrance is to use like a glitch plugin like the Gross Beat or the Blue Glitch plugin, which is great, and just kind of mess around with it, see what you can come up with. They've got all these really fantastic presets that you can kind of play around with. So I'm just going to click through and see how some of them sound. So that one's really cool. So obviously it's, you don't even hear the snare anymore. It's pitched it, and it's done a kind of stutter effect on it. So that sounds pretty cool indeed. So if we just pull off the very end so it matches up with the bar. So that's giving it a completely different sound from this original kind of fill that we that we had in there. So let's take a listen to see how this sounds all together. Sounds pretty cool, bit loud in the mix though. So that's a little bit better, liking the sound of that. So let's continue on with the rest of the track. So we're just gonna copy and paste these over, and let's bring in all of the bass hits and the acids and things like that, and maybe let's bring these over as well, and again with our atmospheric sound effect hits here. So that sounds nice. Obviously this extra acid line came in there. I think I do want to actually maybe bring this riser into play, just to make that transition a bit more kind of noticeable. So let's bring it in. So it's a bit loud, so I'm just going to make that into a unique copy and then turn it down a little bit. I want to keep this volume of this riser the same because it sounded fine in that area, but it was a little bit too loud here, so I'm just going to make a new copy and bring down the volume. So that sounds pretty cool. I do actually want to add one more uplifter, which I have in the sound effects folder here. Not that one, this one, nice long one. So let's go ahead and we're going to link that to the same channel as this riser here, which is number 36. So let's link that up and let's see how this sounds. So it's pretty cool. I want to try and do something a little bit different with the last bar here. So I'm just going to cut up the ends of it here. For some reason FL Studio doesn't always quite snap properly when you're cutting. So I just need to readjust these. There we go, and I'm just going to use the mute tool, and I think I'm going to mute these last couple of notes. So it sounds quite nice. Maybe let's just remove all of the bass lines and kicks and things like that. Let's pull that back here. Maybe we can get away with increasing the length of these. So again, just need to line them up. Let's try it like that. So that sounds quite cool, kind of gives it a little bit of an edge. And I'm going to do one more thing, I think. I'm just going to do a little bit of panning. We're going to go hard left, hard right, hard left, hard right. And just repeat that. And then back to center. And then also, let's just automate the volume so it doesn't come in so strong. Just need to snap this back into position. That's sounding pretty nice. Liking the sound of that indeed. I think one way to help this transition even more is on the kick and bass bus we've got this filter. I think if I bring the filter, the high pass, up so that it cuts out all of the kick and bass, this is really going to help this next section here. So when the kick and bass comes back in, it's got even more power. And I think also let's put a low pass on the percussion, and let's just bring the percussion out a little bit as well, and then bring it back in. So hopefully this is just going to give an extra bit more power. So that sounds nice. It's got a little bit more power there and a lot of groove going on. So we've got this main acid here. This was something that we created in one of the first few videos, and what I want to do now is I want to use this sound and I want to kind of double up on the notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a copy of the acid, and then I'm going to link it to a new mixer channel. I'm going to copy over the EQ settings, and I've got a kind of new pattern, MIDI pattern, to be used for this. So let's have a listen. So it's kind of a bit more rolling, it's a bit more kind of Goa psytrance, you know, it's got that nice kind of rolling feel to it. But I don't want to use the same delay and things, because if you remember, we used two different delays. One was quite long, one was quite short, and they kind of doubled up to create a pretty cool effect. So I'm going to add some delay on, and I want it to be not too washed out by the delay. So that sounds quite nice, and I'm going to add some reverb. I'm not going to add too much reverb. I think that works quite nicely. And then let's go and put some sidechain. Maybe let's just reduce the sidechain a little bit. So that sounds quite cool. So let's chuck that in there. And I don't want it to come in straight away. I want to kind of filter this in. So we've got the filter on the synth here. So that's a pretty nice filter already. So we're going to start to filter this in here. And let's do that over 8 bars. So let's have a listen to see how that sounds. So that sounded pretty cool. It's got a nice kind of groovy and psytrance sound to it. So as you can see, I just brought out the kick, bass and the percussion just on the first beat, so it lands on the second instead. And I think we should go and copy the doubled up bass line pattern that we created and chuck that in there. So it's sounding pretty cool. I think I'm just going to cut the end off there, and then we're going to do the same on the kick and bass bus. We're going to just pull out the low end, and let's see how that sounds. Cool, that's sounding good. Now for this next section we're going to do something a little bit different. It's something I quite like to do in some of my psytrance tracks, is that we're going to drop it back down just to the kick and bass. But what we're going to do, we're going to take out the last section of the bass on the last beat, and it creates a pretty cool stop-start effect. Let's get the bass hits back in there to accompany it. Let's have a listen to this. So it's got that kind of cool stop-start effect, and it works really well in the club as you kind of bring the energy up and all the sounds up, and then you bring it back down again just to the kick and a bass. So maybe let's copy this across to here. So that's sounding pretty good. Let's maybe add some of these sound effects back in. And again, let's maybe cut the first section of the kick and the bass and maybe put the crash there. And there we go. That's pretty much all I'm going to do for the intro. Sounding really cool indeed. Obviously, we've just rehashed all of the old stuff that we created in the very first few episodes. And as it's progressive trance, obviously, it progresses nicely, building sounds up, and I think it's a good minute and a half or so, bringing all the sounds in, increasing the intensity, using the acid line, this new one that we added in here, and then dropping it back down to just the kick and the bass line. And then in the next episode, we're going to be moving on to the breakdown, which, as you heard just then, will start at bar 105. So there we go. So make sure to catch us in the next episode. We'll be looking at the breakdown. Cheers.